The rate of road accidents in Cameroon is causing untold grief and pain to so many families. Recent reports of the World Health Organization indicates that road accidents reach 3,988, representing 1.84% of total deaths in Cameroon. The situation seems worrisome, as no day passes without someone being injured on minor or major highways in Cameroon. We equally look at measures taken by government in instilling order in the inter-urban transport sector. The Minister of Transport this week issued an ultimatum calling on 32 travel agencies to abide the rules and regulations. Now, how are businessmen in Cameroon preparing for the economic, industrial, and commercial fair to hold in China? We would also be examining problems affecting the growth of SMEs in Cameroon and elsewhere across Africa. The program is News Roundup of the Week. Stay with us. Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of your program News Roundup of the Week on Canal the English. My guest on today's program is Eric Vodmia Formantum. He is a business consultant and a safety expert. Now, when we talk about safety, now, what do you emphasize on?
The prevention of accidents, the prevention of damages to properties, and accidents which may be work-related or even non-work-related, for example, in case of the several road accidents we're talking about.
All right. Now, we're going to be talking about safety in road accidents, but before we come to that, I want to know more about, since you're into business, you're a business consultant, now we have economic or businessmen are preparing for the economic, industrial, and commercial fair to hold in China. Now, how is it important for businessmen?
Well, it is very important because, especially for Cameroonian businessmen, because it gives them an opportunity to be able to meet with Chinese counterparts, to be able to be exposed to Chinese technologies, which I think we need for our growth in Cameroon. There are several things we can do, but we don't have the technology, and China has the technology, so we have an opportunity not to deal with only one, or not to only talk over the internet with our partners, but to be able to actually be on the field to evaluate and talk with them and actually see the technologies into practice, and also form partnerships with other companies to be able to help develop our nation.
Now, let's look at the quality of the products here. Cameroon businessmen have the opportunity to present quality products to the Chinese counterparts.
Yes, but unfortunately, what we produce, we don't have varieties of productions in Cameroon. There's an emphasis on the quality of the products we produce, which is very important, because if you don't have quality goods, you cannot be competitive in the market. Not only to China, but export to maybe America, Europe, all requires some form of standards in the quality of products we produce. So quality is a very important aspect in business, especially if you want to sell out of the country, because it's only when you sell out of the country that you can actually make money, and that Cameroon can have gain revenue from exchange, because we do import a lot. We also need to export a lot, and for you to be able to export, all organizations or all companies that work abroad, they need goods that are of quality. So there have been efforts to promote quality in Cameroon. There are institutions to promote quality in Cameroon. We have the standard agencies in Yaoundé, which is out to promote quality in Cameroon. So our hope is that whatever we're doing, whatever goods we're producing, we need to step up the quality in order to be competitive.
All right. Now, what's the impact of such a fair on Cameroon's economy?
I think it's very significant. You know, with the emergence of the Chinese economy and the facilitation between trade, the facilitation of trade between Cameroon and China, we've had several equipments, several machines, several products that we could not have before if without trading in China. It is true that sometimes we complain about the qualities of the equipment, the qualities of the machinery, but if you compare with the prices we used to buy those equipments from Europe, because you realize that it is much more affordable for a Cameroonian to buy equipment in China than in Europe or in America. And so the trend between the trend of trade between America and between Cameroon and China. It's unstoppable, but like most people say, we need to be able to source the quality of goods we buy from China should be the determining factor. We shouldn't just buy or import anything for the Cameroonian market, because I also think that the Cameroonian market needs quality.
All right.
So it's a very important trade fair, because it's going to give an opportunity for Cameroonians to discover the technology that they need to develop their country.
Now we have a huge Chinese presence in Cameroon
That's
already.
right.
Now, what evaluation do you make of the presence? Let's take economic.
Well, I think it's something that they have the pros and the cons. The Chinese influx in Cameroon, it's not very regulated, because you see the Chinese doing things or doing jobs that are left for the Cameroonian. But on the other hand, you want to find out Cameroon is a free economy. Nobody's stopping Cameroonians to do what the Chinese are doing. If the Chinese can make money in what they are doing, then also Cameroonians can make money better in what they are doing. But that said, in economics, you also have what you call protectionism. You cannot open your country completely free to a country like China that has 1.something billion people, because if you do, there will be influx of Chinese in the economy, and they will be able to take over the economy, and Cameroonians will not be able to compete with them, because the level where they are technologically advanced than us. In terms of population, they have higher population. In terms of finance, they are more advanced and have more facilities. So if we don't regulate the market, we may end up having influx of Chinese in Cameroon, and the population of Chinese in Cameroon may be double or triple the population of Cameroonians, and the Cameroonians, given their level of education, economy, and GDP, will not be able to compete with the Chinese. So there need to be some regulation.
Which means it needs to be regulated.
That's right. In all the countries, there's this regulation of the number of people that can come to your country. There's regulation of the number of the type of jobs that are reserved for the citizens of that country. You hear what Donald Trump says is American first. So Cameroon first before any other citizens of any nation.
All right. The Cameroon government is working towards instilling order in the inter-urban transport sector. The Minister of Transport this week issued an ultimatum calling on 32 travel agencies to abide to the regulations, the rules and regulations. Let's watch this report and others that have been used in the course of the week. We'll be right back. The Cameroon government is working towards instilling order in the inter-urban transport sector. The transport minister has issued an ultimatum calling on 32 agencies to abide to the rules and regulations. One of such agencies is the Caribbean Voyage in Douala. Authorities here do not understand why they have been listed. I am surprised to learn that Caribbean Voyage does not respect regulations, whereas we have been existing for more than 10 years. Here at the Alliance Voyage, the Ministry of Transport Acts has not fallen on this agency. They are in their normal routine activity this day. At the National Voyage Agency, they have been given just a provisional permission to open their agency. At the Princess Voyage, they have certain documents but not authentic authorization. Amongst the 32 inter-urban transportation agencies threatened with closure, there are certain obligations that are needed to be met.
This authorization is delivered solely by the Minister of Transport. And you need a stamped application which mentions exactly what kind of activity you want to do and where you want to do this activity, where you decide to do this activity. You need a certified copy of a transport license, category 2, like they say, the same category. You need your categories, you need your carte bleue, you need insurance, you need a roadworthy certificate, what we call visit technique, which is supposed to be valid at the time that you are applying for this document.
The Inter-Urban Transport Agency is currently undergoing scrutiny following several accidents that have left scores dead.
When you get on board a vehicle that has to transport you, you have to first of all look at the attire of the driver. It permits you to know if you are on board the car of a responsible or irresponsible driver. Words of advice from the brigade commander to road users of the National Road Number 3, Douala-Yaoundé. The objective of this activity is to put an end to uncivil and improper behavior on our roads.
Tout ceci dans la perspective des fêtes de fin d'année.
This activity falls in line with our routine end-of-year road scrutiny. As you know, towards the end of the year, there is usually traffic as people try to move from one town to another. We have to therefore begin to take measures to protect our citizens and to protect their goods.
Visant à renforcer la sécurité des personnes et de leurs biens.
This road safety campaign is out to sensitize road users to stay on track with all road safety codes.
C'est le volet le plus important. Au-delà du caractère répressif,
we are not just here to pass out repressive measures. Beyond punishing, we are here to educate and sensitize the population on proper road behavior.
Et quelque chose de fondamental. Parce qu'il faudrait que les usagers comprennent eux-mêmes le bien fondé du travail que nous faisons.
C'est une innovation et nous voudrions.
It is an innovation and it is our wish to see that it continues. If the road safety network was working like this, we would not have had the alarming number of accidents we have on our roads every day. Several cases of non-respect of road safety codes were being checked. Speed limit, bad state of vehicle, lack of immatriculation and others. Those who were found guilty had their cars intercepted, while others paid for the registration of some documents on the spot.
It was a sad Sunday evening for some traders of the Ndokoti market in Douala, whose shops have been consumed by flames. The fire incident was discovered at about 8 p.m. by the population, who immediately alerted elements of the firefighting brigade. We suddenly saw flames emanating from the air. We were surprised because we did not hear any noise. We finally noticed it was the food store that was in flame. We started breaking some of the stores to quench the fire. Thanks to firefighters, before owners of the shops come, we had already started putting the fire away. Over 8 shops were consumed by flames, which, according to eyewitness, originated from an electrical fault. According to me, this should have been caused by an electrical fault. A cable surely sparked because the traders left the bulbs on before going back to their houses. No casualty was recorded, but a huge material damage, estimated at several million francs CFA. At our arrival at the scene of the incident this morning, some goods were still lying on the floor. This is not the first time the Ndokoti market is witnessing a fire outbreak. Most markets in the economic city Douala are targeted by fire incidents.
The Social Democratic Front, SDF, is divided over the quest by some members of parliament to withdraw from the National Assembly in solidarity with the Anglophone crisis. After debating on the issue during an extraordinary meeting of the National Executive Committee, NEC, that held at the behest of the recent happenings, especially the humiliating ban of the Social Democratic Front Solidarity March that was due to take place in Douala. Speaking in a press briefing after the NEC meeting, Senator Chachwa Paul stated that the National Executive Committee has decided that all elected members of Parliament should all go back to Parliament and continue the fight from within, since they are faced with a constitutional problem.
I think that resolution is within the context of ongoing crisis. We have encouraged the chairperson, the chairman of the party, national chairman, has encouraged all the parliamentarians and all the mayors to continue to work in the interest of the party. The second resolution, or other resolutions that have been taken, concern the Anglophone crisis. And we conclude that the crisis, which started actually as a small quarrel, has been allowed to evolve into a political crisis by Paul Biya and his regime.
As to the question of some parliamentarians who allegedly declared that they withdrew from parliament, Professor Azanganji refuted that, saying no SDF parliamentarian ever resigned, and that what some of them did was simply make some statements on the social media which fitted in the context of the moment.
Convention that did not hold, that's what we mean.
Exactly.
Well, the election, the convention could not have held simply because of the crisis. And so we have resolved today to move it to February 2018 to give time for the dust to settle, to give time for Cameroonians to come back to their collective conscience.
The national convention that has suffered two postponements has been built for February 2018.
This is another case of arson recorded in Bui Division in northwest Cameroon. Government High School Kitiwum, located on the outskirts of Kumbu, was set ablaze on October 29, 2017 by unidentified men who stormed the campus. According to the security guard, the men who masked themselves attacked and tied him up before performing their act.
And I was feeling cool. I went to the kitchen where we always make fire to warm ourselves, and I heard, as I was sitting there, I heard a noise that pushed the door. As I was coming out of the house, people attacked me with guns, tied me face down, and then tied my face, and they were threatening to shoot me.
The principal, vice principal, bursars and private secretary officers, the general secretariat and the school computer laboratory were completely consumed by the fire set by the hoodlums.
You have seen the damage has been done yourself. All the machines in the school burnt, the archives burnt. You've seen the huge destruction that has been done. And I think it is not a loss for the principal. I think it's a loss for the whole community, because I think that this is an institution which has been passing out quite a good number of students, and is a pride of the village, and it actually beats my imagination that people want to take over a country and they use fire.
Hours after the incident at Government High School Kitiwum, the principal, the commissioner for public security and gendarmes visited the scene to take stock of the situation. The incident occurred just a day after a failed attempt to burn down Government Bilingual High School Kikaikom, still in the Bui Division in northwest Cameroon.
At the entrance to the Presbyterian Secondary School PSS Bafut this Wednesday morning, several parents braved the showers of the rain to find out about the security of their children after last night's fire disaster that ravaged some rooms of the girls' dormitory. Though the school administration had told security forces to bar the way to journalists from having access to the campus, reliable sources say the author of the fire had surely benefited from the fact that no security man is allowed to patrol around the girls' dormitory for obvious reasons. That is why all the parents ruled out the hypothesis of electricity short circuit when mentioned by the school authorities. The divisional officer for Bafut is quoted as having promised that from today, female security officers will be made to guard around the girls' dormitory.
Welcome back. I'm accompanied by Eric Vodmia Fomantum. He is a business consultant and a safety expert. Now we're talking about transport. We focus on the transport sector. Now the Minister of Transport issued an ultimatum calling on 32 travel agencies across Cameroon to abide to rules and regulations. Now what's your take on that?
Yes, I salute the initiative taken by the Minister of Transport to call these companies to order. It's a good initiative and it's timely. No, I can't say it's timely. I can say it's a little bit late now, because it comes as a result of the many accidents that we've had on the road. The transport sector in Cameroon has regulations that abide, and we don't have to wait till a serious accident that we've had so far to issue that order. But that said, it is time for order to reign. No more disorder in the transport sector, because it has cost the lives of several human beings. It has cost the life of thousands of Cameroonians. If you look at the rate of road accidents on our road, it's an averaging about 4,000 people are killed every year because of reckless driving. And these are accidents that are preventable. Now, coming back to the ministers...
I want us to come back to the ministers' ultimatum calling on travel agencies to abide to rules and regulations. But why allow these travel agencies to function? Because most of them have been existing for more than 10 years, 15 years, and you're coming today telling them that they need to respect the rules and regulations.
Actually, that's where I have a problem, because I can remember that a few years back, the same order was signed, I don't know, by the then Minister of Transport, and some companies were even sanctioned as a result of road accidents. They did inspections in several traveling agencies and realized that most of them were non-compliant in terms of the requirements set by the Ministry of Transport for bus transportation company particularly. And order was given by then for them, I think it was 30 days or 2 months, to make sure that they comply with those regulations. And you can see that most of them did not comply with those regulations, and nothing happened after that. So what I'm saying here is that I want to say this is a good initiative for the minister, but it shouldn't end at just issuing this order. There should be a follow-up, and it should be something on a regular basis. And it should be a proactive measure and not a reactive measure when incidents happen. It should be something on a regular basis to check, even on monthly basis, because we have the regional delegation of transport in all the regions, and that should be what they do on a daily basis to make sure that transportation companies, because they carry human beings and we value the lives of people, they are in compliance all the time, and the companies that do not comply should be sanctioned.
Now, why do you allow them to function? Why do you allow them to be on the road? Because they have been existing for more than 5-10 years.
Yeah.
Why come today and that's telling them that you're not doing this, you don't have documents?
Yeah, I realize that's probably that's where my problem is. But I'm saying that once they have started, they shouldn't stop, because it's not the first time that they did inspections in the traveling agencies and realized that most of them were
Which
not
means that
compliant.
measures are taken, but the implementation is a problem.
That's right, and we see that in most in most of the ministries, in most of the organizations. So we're calling upon them to make sure that they implement the regulations. You know, in Cameroon, the issue is not the absence of regulations. The issue is the enforcement of the regulations, and because there's a little bit of laxity in enforcement of the regulations, so organizations or companies just do whatever they want to do.
Now, does it end only at giving them, telling them to respect the rules and regulations, or don't you think that at least stringent measures are supposed to be taken, because these are travel agencies that some of them don't even have the documents?
Yes, I think he has already started taking measures, and I can remember in the days when Bello Buba used to be the Minister of Transport, there were several transportation agencies that were banned as a result of, or were sanctioned as a result of non-compliance. For example, as a result of reckless driving and causing accidents on the road, and you know, this helped to cut down on the number of road accidents that occurred on our road at that time. So the past is gone. You can't hold him responsible for what he did in the past. The issue then is telling minister, well done, good job, but for how long are you going to continue? Keep up on the job, and on a daily basis, make sure that these companies that transport our brothers and sisters, ourselves, from one destination to the other, they are in strict compliance with the regulations. And if they are not in compliance, they are a business, they need to be shut down. Because a business that does not comply with the regulations in force should be shut down. So if they cannot comply with the regulations, and you know, these transportation agencies, they touch at least almost every single Cameroonian because people travel on daily basis. And we are talking about lives. We're talking about the protection of lives. So if they're not in compliance, then there is no other way. And these are the reasons. The non-compliance, you can see a company that does not comply with the regulations, with the number of accidents that are occurring on the road as a result of that.
Now, can we say that this other reflects on what is happening in travel agencies, the disorder in the transport sector?
Exactly, that's what we're talking about. You look at the transportation sector, look at from the time you arrive the park to board the transport, look at the way you receive, the way you stand, the activities of the drivers, the motor boys, even the managers, they are all non-regulated. I don't think there are very few transportation agencies in Cameroon that when you come to their agencies, you're treated like a customer. That's not the case. 90% of them, you're treated as somebody who doesn't know what to do. And when you want to talk to them, they tell you, you go buy your own car. If you have money, you better drive yourself. This is how we do here. Drivers, they insult people. The agencies are not clean. And then they have toilets. You have to pay to go to the toilets. Meanwhile, it is part of the services they're supposed to provide. And even water or toilets, the sanitation, the welfare facilities are not available. And even in the transport, in the cars themselves, they carry overload. Poor maintenance of their vehicles and all the rest, and people pay their vehicles, they have to stand up, they don't even have where to sit to wait for the boarding time. Boarding times are not respected. The qualities of the vehicles of themselves not respected. So there are a lot of issues related to the transportation sector, and I'm just calling on the minister, please put more effort to make sure that this sector is regulated, because every other Cameroonian is affected, and once they don't respect, you see this most of the causes of the accidents on our road.
All right. Now, let's look at the suspension of General Express by the Minister of Transport, and trade unions are condemning it very seriously. Now, what's your take on that?
Well, I think my take is that the trade union, they are not well cultured. They look at the economic benefits or the economic impact of suspending a transportation industry, and they fail in their declaration to even send messages of condolences to the bereaved family. There is no amount of investment that you can do and sacrifice the life of people. You cannot tell the minister that the minister is wrong in suspending General Express because it's going to people are going to not get job. The company is going to lose revenue, and people are going to be out of job, and they will not have job. It's better to be without a job for 3 months than to die on a road accident as a result of careless driving. Which one do you prefer? To be without a job, or to be the passenger that pays his money to live from one destination to other and get up and get along, being killed as a result of the reckless driving of the drivers.
Now, people are asking now, why just General had so many travel agencies involved in road accidents just this year?
Yeah, General Express, okay, one of the reasons they gave is that General Express has the highest number of vehicles, and they do the highest number of trips, maybe 250 trips per day, all around Cameroon. And if you want to compare the number of accidents, it's definitely comparing the accident incident ratio, General Express will definitely have the number of accidents. But I'd say that you will not tell me that. So if General Express for this year, they had about 7 accidents with a total of about 60 people that died in 10 months. So therefore, if General Express was going to increase their number of fleet from 150 to maybe 300, it means that every year, because they have the highest number of buses and they do the highest number of trips per day, they are going to multiply the number of people they kill from 60 to 120. I say no.
So the minister is right.
Of course, he's right. He should have done that when they had the first 2-3 accidents. He shouldn't have waited till the 7th accident. Because if you look, there's a video circulating on the internet whereby a General Express bus is overtaking a truck at a corner and almost missed an accident, and somebody was behind filming to tell you about the nature of the drivers, the training of the drivers. See, so that's the cost of the accident. Those are the costs of the accidents on the road.
Now, I want us to look at the causes of road accidents in Cameroon.
Yeah. That said, most people blame the road accidents to the bad nature of the roads. Yes, the bad nature of the roads, those are some of the causes of the accident. But there are several causes of the accident, and I've put them into 5 different categories. First, we want to talk about the environmental aspects of causes of road accident. The environmental. We want to talk about the costs related to the drivers. I just talk about the drivers overtaking. Those are some of the causes. Then the vehicles themselves, and we want to talk about institutional causes. We've heard about issuing of road worthy tests. We'll talk about regulations on our road. And then, very interesting too, it's about metaphysical causes, unknown causes of road accidents. So let's talk about that. Looking at the environmental causes first, most accidents occur during the rainy seasons, and sometimes during the dry seasons. During the rainy seasons, when it's rainy, and when it's raining, the road becomes slippery, so the tires don't hold very well. Another environmental factor is driving in the night. Visibility reduces by 50% when you're driving in the night, so you can't see very well in the night like you can see in the daytime. So driving in the night will increase the risk of accident. Driving during the rain will also increase the risk of accident. And if you combine these 2 factors, you also realize that your visibility reduces maybe by 75%. So that's why some companies will stop driving during the night. It's a no-no for some companies, drivers to drive during the night. Also on environmental conditions too, we talk about the narrowness of our road. You know, we have roads that are so small that overtaking is actually an issue on the road. Then we have issues like absence of road signs on our road as well. You see, when you drive on our roads, like from here to Yaoundé, there are few road signs on the roads, and sometimes you don't know when to limit your speed and when to drive. For example, you may have a road sign telling you need to drive at 30 kilometers when there was no one telling you had to drive at 60 or 90. And you were driving at 90 and you suddenly see a road sign at maybe 30 kilometers. All these ones can easily help someone to cause an accident because they are absent. And then some of those road signs are old and some of them are even removed. The road sign describing the various bends are not there on some of our roads. So this one can cause accidents as well. Now let's talk about the drivers. So we've talked about the road conditions, and all of us know that the road conditions are bad all over Cameroon. And this cannot be fixed on a single day. And sometimes where roads are so bad, they may even prevent accident. For example, in the Yaoundé roads where most of the accidents are occurring as compared to around Santa and around. If more accidents occur on the Yaoundé road where the roads are even better than between Santa and Bamenda where the roads are actually worse. So environmental factors can also cause accidents, but sometimes they cannot be the only cause of accidents. Now we talk about the drivers. Most of the drivers are people who, for one reason or the other, like they are the rejected people of the society or the people that didn't go to school. And sometimes it is very difficult to be able to get them to understand that there should be people that can be considered as responsible. And because of that, they tend to be irresponsible, because most of the accidents that occur on the road as a result of the irresponsibilities of our drivers. This comes to training of the drivers. When you train drivers, the training of drivers should not only end at the level of the driving school and obtaining your certificate. There should be refresher training courses for drivers. For drivers, like teach drivers on defensive driving. That can be done after every 1 or 2 years.
We are looking at the way forward already.
Yes.
Or solutions or measures that should be taken by government.
I'm still talking about the drivers, but still, can still talk about the way forward. But for the drivers, the attitude of the drivers is one of the problems. I think most of us know that our drivers are so rude. You cannot even caution them. You cannot even tell them what you're doing, it's not right. And when you look at the drivers, the very young drivers are the high hazard ones. The very young drivers, the one between 20 and 30 years. And I was saying in the program that if I was the minister, I would not issue a driver's license to drive a truck when you are not above 30 years. Because most of the road accidents that occur are the very young drivers that are so excited. They come to the road, they are trying to compete with other vehicles. So those attitudes, those driving attitudes can cause accidents. Then driving and drinking on our roads, most of the drivers, when they are drunk, they can't drive very well.
Right.
Okay. Then the state of the vehicles as well. The state of the vehicles are other parts. Most of the vehicles we import in Cameroon are not new vehicles because of the high cost of driver's license.
Just briefly, now I want us to look at the way forward. Now, what are the measures that government should take to try to eliminate these road accidents or try to avoid road accidents, try to reduce some of these road accidents in Cameroon?
Okay, talking about I've talked about the drivers. First, for drivers should be all drivers, a part of obtaining your driver's license, should do defensive driving. And should do a refresher driver's course after every 2 years. And secondly, when you're issued a driver's license and you have accidents, your driver's license should be suspended. If it is investigated and realized that you were the cause of that accident, your driver's license should be suspended or points should be taken out of your driver's license. In that case, drivers will be very conscious when they are driving. They will make sure that they don't have accidents, because if they have accidents, they will either not be able to drive again or points will be suspended from their driving. And if you are suspended from driving, you must undergo a certain driving test again before you can be issued a license. In that case, you will be able the drivers will be able to take more care. And then secondly, the motivation of drivers. Some drivers are not well motivated by the driving agencies. You hear the drivers complaining that the drivers that drive these big buses to Yaoundé, they are paid about 35,000 or 100,000 francs, and they worked about 500 to 1 million francs a month. But on their monthly salaries, they are not well motivated. If drivers are not well motivated, they can't drive very well.
All right. Now, some Cameroonians expressed a concern this week to see the prices of gas bottles drop, but this excitement quickly died away, especially as government only announced tax exoneration for the importation of cooking gas. Let's watch this report and others that made news in the course of the week. We'll be right back.
It's been a few days since the government announced tax exoneration for the importation of cooking gas. Consumers who got the news came here with the hope that there must have been a drop in the prices of gas. However, this has not been the case. Whatever the frustrations may be, it is a state that has to decide whether there will be a drop in the price of gas or not. So I will call on consumers to stay calm. The price of gas remains unchanged.
Le gaz reste au prix habituel.
However, consumers also have other preoccupations, one of it being how much will a 12.5 kilogram of empty gas bottle cost? We want to know how much we are going to buy an empty 12.5 kilogram of gas bottle. If I want to buy a gas bottle which is empty, how much will I pay for? End of translation. The price of gas has not changed. The normal price is 6,500 francs, but there are rumors that the price of gas has reduced, but we have not yet seen that. We sell gas here every day, but they say the retailers are complaining that gas is expensive and we do not know what to tell them. The government's decision to exonerate tax on gas bottles is intended to permit every Cameroonian to be able to own a gas bottle.
Mapule Michael, 22, Serge, 31, and Cyril, 25, have been nailed for aggravated theft and murder, as the three criminals made their entry into the government's secondary school, Sultan Joya. The atmosphere is tense. Everyone is venting their anger on the alleged bandits, said to have killed the principal of government's secondary school, Sultan Joya. The criminals are out for a remake of the crime scenario. They walked through the paths and told security forces and the state council what transpired on the night of September 24, 2017. The seemingly tensed crowd saluted the bravery of the security forces in rapidly tracking down the alleged criminals, but called on government to reinforce security in their neighborhoods. The government should take measures to fight insecurity. They did a good job, but I think prayers of the Sultan and the population also help. These are boys that strolled around the quarter. The shopkeeper was a nice man. He even reminded them. He even told them what he did to them. The remake of the horrific scene took the criminals and the authorities round the school. They also made a stop at the shopkeepers, a resident whose life was also terminated by the same criminals. The 3 security guards have been arrested, and investigations will prove if they are guilty or not. The 3 alleged criminals were remanded in custody while the authorities as they await judgment. The gang leader named Salam is still on the run.
A committee has been set up by the senior divisional officer of Kribi in the Ocean Division to manage activities of the Ngoye Kolbiten market. This follows a strike by the traders who demanded the free movement on spaces reserved for road users, which have been occupied by the different syndicates.
Yesterday, upon arrival in the market, we saw all the authorities, the DO, there was the commissioner too of the Kribi district, the other authorities, and we had one of the representatives of the Secretary General, Mumburi. The problem is that business people are facing difficulties. There's division in the market, and we must understand that the town is emerging.
The set-up committee is comprised of 2 divisional officers from Kribi 1 and 2, 2 deputy mayors, and a main advisor who will be working in collaboration with the head of syndicate. The committee has been given 2 weeks to bring back order amongst the occupants of this major commercial structure in the Ocean Division. An uneasy calm now reigns in the market as traders wait for concrete solutions to their grievances.
The 17th session of the Congo Basin Forest Partnership that took place in Cameroon opened up for the consolidation of partnerships in conservation and the sustainable management of biodiversity.
We covered an area of 6 million hectares in Cameroon, Gabon, Congo and Central African Republic in different landscapes made up of protected areas, logging concessions and other areas around protected areas. The results show that we have a relatively healthy population of gorillas and chimps, basically what we call great apes, about 59,000 individuals in that 6 million hectares.
One of such is the partnership between the European Union and the Central African Forestry Commission, COMIFAC.
Will help really to maintain the forest, because if a forest is empty, then this forest will not sustain. It is really important because some plant trees can really grow if they pass through the intestine of the elephant, for example. That's the reason why the relation in between the forest and the wildlife species is very important. Wildlife species help to disseminate the seed of the plant species to make them really renew the forest at any time.
Congo Basin forests constitute 25% of global carbon stock. This is a big challenge to stakeholders and partners who are out to encourage the development of green economy. With more than 30 million inhabitants on its sphere, the threat on natural resources are abound. That is why the European Union financial assistance is necessary to manage protected areas. To that effect, the EU has injected $80 billion since 1992 to help in the ecological chain.
The 2017-2018 cocoa season has taken off in Banjok. To launch the season, the divisional officer for this municipality has visited the municipality nursery to mobilize cocoa farmers for a tete-a-tete discussions on ways to stand up to the falling prices of cocoa. As we have started with the seeds, it is our wish that this process continues to the products so that plants can grow up normally. Those who will nurture these plants need to have a lot of experience. They have to till the soil and plant the soil right deep. More than 2,000 seedlings are in gestation in this municipal nursery. The nursery here is a hands-on teaching center to permit them replicate in their farms. They were also handed cocoa seedlings. We have many cocoa farmers who are interested in improving their productivity. We support them. Even though the divisional officer has taken some steps to fight illegality in the sector, it is still not easy. With more than 10,000 hectares of plantation, the population of Banjok are looking towards a better cocoa season this year 2017-2018. 91% of children aged between 6 and 12 in Cameroon suffer from tooth decay, also known as dental caries.
The statistics in Cameroon concerning oral health, we have almost 98% of periodontal diseases in Cameroon amongst children below 6 years. We also have dental caries around 95%, yes, amongst primary school children. It is actually very, very high in urban areas than in rural areas, depending on because of diet.
The dentists have described the statistics as alarming. Tooth decay, if not treated on time, can cause other mouth-related diseases.
The diseases that are coming up frequently when it comes to oral health in Cameroon are mostly periodontal disease and dental caries that we talk about. But there are also other things that we see in the clinic. We see a lot of oral cancer that is coming up because of the change of our habits, and also we have trauma related to the oral environment, like because people are using motorbikes these days and there are a lot of accidents. People also present in the hospital with a lot of trauma that lead to the fracture of the mouth, fracture of the teeth, and fracture of the bones of the mouth.
The economic burden caused by dental caries cannot be undermined. It leads to poor productivity at work and absenteeism in adults, poor school attendance and performance in children.
Oral diseases are very, very preventable. In some countries where the government has concentrated more on prevention than treatment, most oral diseases have gone down seriously. When we talk about periodontal disease and dental caries, we can prevent them by actually good eating habits and also brushing your teeth regularly in the right manner, because you can as well brush and you still present with dental diseases. And then when you talk about trauma related to oral diseases, most of people don't use helmets that can use devices that you can use in preventing your teeth from having injuries when you have accidents.
Dentists have called on Cameroonians to be conscious of their oral health. Cameroonians continue to decry high cost of treatment. Cameroon today counts 500 dentists, an increase when compared to statistics 5 years back, when the country could only boast of 105 dentists. Welcome back. I'm still accompanied by our business consultant and a safety expert. He's called Eric Vodmia from Mansom. Now, I want us to talk about small and medium-sized enterprises. They still face a lot of difficulties in Cameroon and elsewhere across Africa, but we are more interested on I want to know why small and medium-sized enterprises still face a lot of challenges, a lot of problems in Cameroon.
Before I go back to that question, as part of the problems we face, the reduction in the duties for gas bottles in Cameroon, I want the government to step up that measure by making sure that gas bottles are produced in Cameroon. Because I look at the statistics for the gas bottles that are just been imported in Cameroon, that's an industry of about 13 billion. For the number of gas bottles that have been imported, those gas bottles can be produced in Cameroon. And it's going to give job to thousands of Cameroonians. So those are some of our problems. Importing all the time doesn't help to grow the economy. There are certain things in Cameroon that should be produced in Cameroon.
And there's a possibility, of doing that.
There's certain things that the government should promote, should say, okay, these activities, we want Cameroonians to take part in these activities and not only import. Reducing custom duties it's very important because you know, the gas bottles are old and for safety reasons, but the gas bottles can be produced in Cameroon. Yes, they can produce in Cameroon.
All right. Now, let's talk about small and medium-sized enterprises. Now, why is that they don't participate in government projects?
Well,
that's not the case in Cameroon.
Yes, I think that's a very good question. It's because of some of the challenges in taking part in public contracts. First, the requirements of public contracts do not favor the small and medium-sized enterprises because there are lots of requirements, and since it's a competitive process, you need to be very sure that when you spend the amount of money which is required to comply with the requirements, you should be able to at least get it. Because for a small and medium-sized company, public contracts, the minimum amount you spend to take part in a public contract, it's between 300 to 500,000 francs per contract or per bid. You spend 300 to 500,000 francs per bid, and then you have lots of requirements. For example, the minimum administrative documents you comply to have a public contract, it's about 10 to 11. And these you spend money. You have to buy the tender. You have to make sure that all your tax documents are updated. You have to certify all your documents. You have to have show proof of financial capacities. There are a lot of them that are needed. And so for a small and medium-sized company to participate in tenders in which the requirements are that of bigger companies, you think that 300 to 500,000 francs, losing them at each time, it's a lot of money, which you can invest in other issues. That's the first thing. So the requirements of participating does not favor the small and medium-sized companies. For example, we can tell one of the things the government can do is to say, okay, small and medium-sized company below 50 million, you're participating in tender first, you don't need to buy the tender. And
so there are certain documents that government can reduce just to allow
that's
small and
right.
medium-sized
That's some of those requirements
that
are not really necessary. They can say, okay, for you to participate in this contract, you need only this and this and that to participate in the contract. You don't need all probably the requirements. They can make the requirements favorable. When I say it's not favorable, it's not easy for a small, medium-sized company to spend that amount of money to participate in a contract which is not sure. The second part of it is the payment process. The payment process, it's so difficult and tough in such a way that sometimes when you even have this contract and you go to the banks to finance these projects, they are hesitant because once you do this project, the time for you to
invest your money.
You invest in this project. You're not very sure at what time you're going to pay. You're going to get paid. And then, thirdly, it's the approval process of each phase of the project. So there are three phases. First, acquiring the contract. It's a very difficult and which will be made easier for small and medium-sized companies. And then secondly, the approval process, once you do the job, it can take a long time for the government to approve that you've done this job. And you cannot get paid until that approval process has been taken. For example, a small contract to be done for the urban council takes about 10 signatures.
So
and
what's
that
the
takes
way
time.
out?
And that takes time. So it's to lessen the process, make the process less easier. And then the government usually doesn't give advances for small and medium-sized companies to do the work. So you have to pre-finance. And you go to the bank, you requested land
So what's the
titles
role of government there? What should government do?
Lessen the process, make a special package, a special project. For example, if you have the project for the construction of the stadium, okay, say 30% of this project is going to the small and medium-sized companies. Or if you have the government project, for example, SNH, and say 30% of the contracts that I give goes to the small and medium-sized companies that have maybe a capital or turnover of maybe 50 million francs and less. And these are the requirements for you to work on these projects. And you don't only give the jobs to the bigger companies. You must make sure that at least 30 to 40% of work goes to the small and medium-sized companies. And you lessen the process. And sometimes you even pre-finance, because private companies may pre-finance, but government won't pre-finance the projects. Right. And then thirdly, in terms of payment, it becomes a little bit difficult. All of us know that the government has issues with, we are in an economic crisis, and payment is also another issue. So once you do a job, you need to be paid. And if you take loan from the banks and stuff like that, and you've not paid on time, and the bank keeps cutting interest on your on the principal that you took, by the time you get paid, maybe 6 months or 1 year after, it becomes an issue. You just take the money and pay back the loan, and you'll not be able to get yourself. So it should be a conscious for the government and say, okay, from the projects of this year, whether it's during the operational budgets or the project budget, we must empower our small and medium-sized enterprises. And this is what we have for them.
They don't have to get discouraged.
No, we don't get discouraged. Of course, getting discouraged means you means you're shutting down. You don't need to shut down. You just need to keep trying. So these are some of the things that we're saying. There was a meeting that was held in Yaoundé, I think last week, on subcontracting. I think if those measures or proposals that were taken during these meetings are put in place and to facilitate the access of small and medium-sized companies to government contracts and to big projects, and that would be a good thing for the government.
All right, we want to thank you for honoring our invitation.
Thank you very much. The pleasure is mine.
And to you, Elder, we say thank you for watching. To take another rendezvous same time next week. Goodbye.